camera. Okay, now it's
okay.
yes, Prabhu.
Dandavat Pranamananda Krishna Prabhu.
Dandavat, Umadevi Devi, Dandavat Krishna Keshava.
So, namaste to everyone. Dandavat Pranam. By the instruction and grace of our spiritual master, Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Sripad Bhakti Madhava Puri Maharaj, we are here reading Srimad Bhagavatam. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Canto 4, The Creation of the Fourth Order, Chapter 5, Text 12. Bhavevam udvigna droschamane janena dakshasya muhur mahatmana utpetur upatatmaha sahasraso bhayavahadivi bhumho chaparyak. While all the people talked amongst themselves, Dakṣa saw dangerous omens from all sides, from the earth and from the sky. Purport. In this verse, Dakṣa has been described as Mahatma. The word Mahatma has been commented upon by different commentators in various manners. Viraraghava Acharya has indicated that this word Mahatma means steady in heart. That is to say that Dakṣa was so strong-hearted that even when his beloved daughter was prepared to lay down her life, he was steady and unshaken. But in spite of his being so strong-hearted, he was perturbed when he saw the various disturbances created by the gigantic black demon. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur remarks in this connection that even if one is called Mahatma, a great soul, unless he exhibits the symptoms of a Mahatma, he should be considered a Duratma, or a degraded soul. In Bhagavad Gita 9.13, the word Mahatma describes the pure devotee of the Lord. Mahatmanas tumam partha daivim prakritim ashrita. A Mahatma is always under the guidance of the internal energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And thus, how could such a misbehaved person as Dakṣa be a Mahatma? A Mahatma is supposed to have all the good qualities of the demigods, and thus Dakṣa, lacking those qualities, could not be called a Mahatma. He should instead be called Duratma, a degraded soul. The word Mahatma to describe the qualifications of Dakṣa is used sarcastically. Text 13. Tavatsa rudranucharar mahamako nanhayudhar vamanakar udhayudai pingai pishankar makaru durharanai paryadravadbir vidurhan varujyata. My dear Vidura, all the followers of Lord Shiva surrounded the arena of sacrifice. They were short-statured and equipped with various kinds of weapons. Their bodies appeared like those of sharks and blackish and yellowish. They ran around the sacrificial arena and thus began to create disturbances. Text 14. Kechid pabhanju pragvamsam patni salam tata pare sad agni dra salam cha tadviraham mahanasham. Some of the soldiers pulled down the pillars which were supporting the pandal of sacrifice. Some of them entered the female quarters, some began destroying the sacrificial arena, and some entered the kitchen and the residential quarters. Text 15. Rujor yagya patrani tataikin anasayan kundeshmutrayan kechid bibhidhur vedi mekala. They broke all the pots made for use in the sacrifice, and some of them began to extinguish the sacrificial fire. Some tore down the boundary line of the sacrificial arena, and some passed urine in the arena. Text 16. Abhadhanta muninanye eke patnir atarjayan apare jagrahur devan pratyasanhan palayitan. Some blocked the way of fleeing sages, some threatened the women assembled there, some arrested the demigods who were fleeing the Pando. 17. Brigumba pandamaniman virabhadra prajapatim chandesha pushanam devam bhagam nandishvaro grahit. Maniman, one of the followers of Lord Shiva, arrested Bhrigu Muni, and Virabhadra, the black demon, arrested the Prajapati Dakṣa. Another follower, who was named Chandesha, arrested Pusha. Nandishvara arrested the demigod Bhaga. 18. Sarva evhartvijo dristva sadhasya sadivakshaka tar ardhyamhana subrisham gravabir naika dadravan. There was a continuous shower of stones, and all the priests and other members assembled at the sacrifice were put into immense misery. For fear of their lives, they disappeared in different directions. 19. Jubhata shruva hastasya smashruni bhagavan bhava pragor lulunche sadhasi yohasach chamrishu darshayan. Virabhadra tore off the mustache of Bhrigu, who was offering the sacrificial oblations with his hands in the fire. Text 20. Bhagasya netre bhagavan patitasya rusabhuvi ujahara sadastokshna yasapantam asushukat. Virabhadra immediately caught Bhaga, who had been moving his eyebrows during Bhrigu's cursing of Lord Shiva, and out of great anger thrust him to the ground and forcibly put out his eyes. 21. Pushnohya pataya dantan kalingasya yatabala sapyamane garimani yohasa darshayandata. Just as Baladev knocked out the teeth of Dantavakra, the king of Kalinga, during the gambling match at the marriage ceremony of Aniruddha, Virabhadra knocked out the teeth of both Dakṣa, who had shown them while cursing Lord Shiva, and Pusha, who by smiling sympathetically had also shown his teeth. Purport. Here are references made to the marriage of Aniruddha, the grandson of Lord Krishna's. He kidnapped the daughter of Dantavakra, and thereafter he was arrested. Just as he was about to be punished for the kidnapping, the soldiers from Dwarka arrived, headed by Balaram, and a fight ensued amongst the Kshatriyas. This sort of fight was very common, especially during marriage ceremonies, when everyone was in a challenging spirit. In that challenging spirit, a fight was sure to occur, and in such fights there was commonly killing and misfortune. After finishing such fighting, the parties would come to a compromise, and everything would be settled. This Dakṣa Yajna was similar to such events. Now all of them, Dakṣa and the demigods, Bhaga and Pusha and Bhrigu Muni, were punished by the soldiers of Lord Shiva. But later everything would come to a peaceful end. So the spirit of fighting between one another was not exactly inimical, because everyone was so powerful and wanted to show his strength by Vedic mantra or mystic power. All these fighting skills were very elaborately exhibited by the different parties at the Dakṣa Yajna. Text 22. Akramyorhasi dakshasya sitadharena hetina chindan api tad udhartum nasakna trayam bhakastad. Then Virabhadra, the giant-like personality, sat on the chest of Dakṣa and tried to separate his head from his body with sharp weapons, but was unsuccessful. 23. Shastrar astran vitar evam anirbina tvacham hara vishmayam param apano dadyo pashupatischiram. He tried to cut the head of Dakṣa with hymns as well as weapons, but still it was hard to cut even the surface of the skin of Dakṣa's head. Thus Virabhadra was exceedingly bewildered. 24. Drasva samghyapanam yogam pashunam sa patirmake yajamana pashokshasya kayatina harachchira. Then Virabhadra saw the wooden device in the sacrificial arena by which the animals were to have been killed. He took the opportunity of this facility to behead Dakṣa. Purport. In this connection, it is to be noted that the device used for killing animals in the sacrifice was not designed to facilitate eating their flesh. The killing was specifically intended to give new life to the sacrificed animal by the power of Vedic mantra. The animals were sacrificed to test the strength of Vedic mantra. Yajnas were performed as a test of the mantra. Even in the modern age, tests are executed on animal bodies in the physiology laboratory. Similarly, whether or not the Brahmanas were uttering the Vedic hymns correctly was tested by sacrifice in the arena. On the whole, the animals thus sacrificed were not at all the losers. Some old animals would be sacrificed, but in exchange for their old bodies, they received other, new bodies. That was the test of Vedic mantras. Virabhadra, instead of sacrificing animals with the wooden device, immediately beheaded Dakṣa to the astonishment of everyone. Text 25. Sadhuvadas tadatesham karma tattasya pasyatam bhuta preta pisachanam anyesham tad viparyaya. Upon seeing the action of Virabhadra, the party of Lord Shiva was pleased and cried out joyfully, and all the bhutas, ghosts, and demons that had come made a tumultuous sound. On the other hand, the Brahmanas in charge of the sacrifice cried out in grief at the death of Dakṣa. 26. Juhavai tachchirastasmin dakshinagnav amarshita tadeva yagyanam dagdva pratistad guya kalayam. Virabhadra then took the head and with great anger threw it into the southern side of the sacrificial fire, offering it as an oblation. In this way, the followers of Lord Shiva devastated all arrangements for sacrifice. After setting fire to the whole arena, they departed for their master's abode, Kailash. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 4th canto, 5th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Frustration of the Sacrifice of Dakṣa. Chapter 6, Brahma satisfies Lord Shiva. Texts 1 through 2. Maitreya uvacha atadeva gana sarve rudrani kai parajita sulapati shanistrimsa gadha pariga mudgarai sanchina binna sarvanga sartvikshabhya payakula Svayambhuve namaskritya karsenyetam nyavedayan. All the priests and other members of the sacrificial assembly and all the demigods, having been defeated by the soldiers of Lord Shiva and injured by weapons like tridents and swords, approached Lord Brahma with great fear. After offering him obeisances, they began to speak in detail of all the events which had taken place. 3. Upalabhya puraivatyad Bhagavan abja sambhava Narayanascha visvatma Nakasyadvaram iyatu. Both Lord Brahma and Vishnu had already known that such events would occur in the sacrificial arena of Dakṣa, and knowing beforehand, they did not go to the sacrifice. Purport. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 7.26, Vedham samatitani vardhamanani charjuna. The Lord says, I know everything that has happened in the past and is going to happen in the future. Lord Vishnu is omniscient, and he therefore knew what would happen at Dakṣa's sacrificial arena. For this reason, neither Narayan nor Lord Brahma attended the great sacrifice performed by Dakṣa. Text 4. Tad akanya vibhupraha tijiyasi kritaghasi kshemaya tatra sabhuyan naprayena bhubhushatam. When Lord Brahma heard everything from the demigods and the members who had attended the sacrifice, he replied, You cannot be happy in executing a sacrifice if you blaspheme a great personality and thereby offend his lotus feet. You cannot have happiness in that way. Purport. Lord Brahma explained to the demigods that although Dakṣa wanted to enjoy the results of fruitive sacrificial activities, it's not possible to enjoy when one offends a great personality like Lord Shiva. It was good for Dakṣa to have died in the fight, because if he had lived, he would have committed such offenses at the lotus feet of great personalities again and again. According to Manu's law, when a person commits murder, punishment is beneficial for him, because if he is not killed, he might commit more and more murders and therefore be entangled in his future lives for having killed so many persons. Therefore, the king's punishment of a murderer is appropriate. If those who are extremely offensive are killed by the grace of the Lord, that is good for them. In other words, Lord Brahma explained to the demigods that it was good for Dakṣa to have been killed. Text 5. Atapi yuyam krita kilbisa bhavam ebarhisho bhaga bhajam paraduhu prasadad yadvam parishuta chetasa Kipra prasadam pragrahitangri padmam. You have excluded Lord Shiva from taking part in the sacrificial results, and therefore you are all offenders at his lotus feet. Still, if you go without mental reservations and surrender unto him and fall down at his lotus feet, he will be very pleased. Purport. Lord Shiva is also called Asutosha. Asu means very soon, and Tosha means to become satisfied. The demigods were advised to go to Lord Shiva and beg his pardon, and because he is very easily pleased, it was certain that their purpose would be served. Lord Brahma knew the mind of Shiva very well, and he was confident that the demigods, who were offenders at his lotus feet, could mitigate their offenses by going to him and surrendering without reservation. And thus ends our reading for today. We'll continue from text 6 on Wednesday. Did the devotees have any comments or questions?
Dakṣa is
Yep.
Shiva and Dakṣa.
Yep. It was a blessing. That's what Lord Brahma said. It's a blessing to get punishment. Otherwise, if you don't get punished for the wrongdoing, then you keep on doing the bad thing over and over again, and eventually you'll get a very big karmic result instead of being punished immediately. Getting punished immediately is much better.
Yeah.
This way you learn your lesson. Okay. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Sripad Bhakti Madhava Puri Maharaj ki jai.
Jai.
Jai Srila Prabhupada, Srila Guru Maharaj, Srila Gurudev, Srila Acharya Dev, Srila Shanta Maharaj ki jai.
Jai.
Jai Rupanuga Guru Varga ki jai. Our glories to the assembled devotees, our glories to the worldwide devotees. Sama Bhaktivedanta Vrinda ki jai.
Jai.
Jai Navadvip Dham ki jai,
Jai.
Nishangapali Dham ki jai, Mayapur Dham ki jai,
Jai.
Jagannath Puri Dham ki jai,
Jai.
Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Ju ki jai,
Jai.
Ganga Mai Yamuna Mai ki jai, Vrindavan Dham ki jai, Giri Govardhan Gupta Govardhan Dham ki jai, Sham Kund Radhakund ki jai, Tulsi Devi Bhakti Devi Vrinda Devi ki jai,
Jai.
Jai Harinam Sankirtan Yagya ki jai, Scientific Sankirtan Yagya ki jai,
Jai.
Princeton Bhaktivedanta Institute ki jai, Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Institute ki jai, Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat ki jai,
Jai.
Jai Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai,
Jai.
Jai Adivas Tirabha Mahamahotsav of Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Paravartikacharya Sri Srila Bhakti Nirmal Acharya Goswami Maharaj ki jai,
Jai.
Nitai Gaur Premanandi Hari
Hari Bol.
Jai Sripadananda Krishna
Hari
Prabhu
Hari
ki
Bol.
jai, Jai Srimati Uma Devi Dasi ki jai,
Jai.
Hare Krishna.
जय गुरुदेव
Jai.
श्रीपाद कृष्ण केशव प्रभु जी की जय
Jai. Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavat pranams. Hare Krishna.
दंडवत प्रणाम
Hare Krishna.